All right, I guess since I'm giving one away, it makes sense to talk to you guys about my new favorite LED light panel that I've been testing out over the last couple weeks, and that is from D&O Lighting. What's good, creative fan? Brandon Washington here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about this brand new LED light panel that I received a couple weeks ago. Now, when it comes to lighting reviews, I typically don't get too excited about them because most lights are actually about the same, and when it comes to lights, typically I'm pretty set with the kit that I have. But when D&O reached out and told me that they had this amazing bright light panel and that it was frosted, had built-in barn doors, it accepted V-mount batteries, and that it was super powerful and that it really should handle everything I needed to, I was like, sure, send it over. Let me test it out. And quickly, it lived up to the hype. Now, one of the big things about this light that excited me was the fact that it was bicolor, which means you can set it at Kelvin levels as low as 32 all the way up to 5600. On top of that, when it comes to the power of this light, you can actually dim this light as low as 8% all the way up to 100%. Now, as great as a lot of these specs are with this light, the biggest thing for me is how the light actually works. Now, the main reason why I typically don't use light panels is because they're normally pretty harsh lights. They're not really flattering, especially when shooting directly onto someone's face. And then on top of that, it's hard to get things like softbox on it to help with that diffusion. Now, this light, on the other hand, I was really surprised by how soft it was with just the built-in frosting. One of the main reasons why it's so soft is because it has that 120-degree beam angle, and on top of that, it's also just a super bright light that you can dim down really low. So by being able to control the intensity and having such a bright source, but then also being able to actually use those barn doors to kind of narrow in where you want that source to actually hit, it's gonna allow you to get a really soft light. For example, right now this entire video is being lit by my Aperture 120D with a actual cheetah light dome on here. However, now I'm actually gonna go ahead and switch it over to this light so you guys can see the difference. Looking at them side by side, you can easily see how easy and how nice it is to be able to use the light panel. I mean, the light panel is quite soft. I wouldn't say it's as soft as the Aperture 120D with the light dome, but it is definitely soft enough to be able to use in any type of situation. On top of that, the two side by side, you can see there's just a drastic difference in the amount of space that they take up. The Aperture 120D with the light dome on it just takes up so much space, especially in a small room, versus using something like the light panel that you can put on a C-stand, even in tight quarters, and be able to get amazing light. Now, there are a couple little things that you need to know about the build of this thing. As I mentioned before, this thing does have V-mount battery attachments, which means to power it, you are gonna need to use V-mount batteries. Now, there is another port on the back here that's gonna actually allow you to plug this thing into the wall, and it does come with the power cable that you need. But on top of that, it also comes with another port, an XLR port. And this is a 4-prong XLR port that you can actually use to power this thing using a massive 900-watt power supply that D&O also sells. So this guy here is the 900-watt portable lithium battery that you can actually use to power this thing. Just for reference, this guy right here is a typical V-mount battery, actually by D&O as well, and this thing is a 95 watt-hour battery. This is what I typically use to power my camera, and it lasts my camera all day, the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. This thing is pretty awesome, has a ton of power, and will last a long time. This guy is 900 watt-hours. It's almost 10 times the amount of storage in this guy here, which means if you're trying to power this light, you're literally going to be able to power it for as long as you possibly would need it on set. So instead of going around trying to swap V-mount batteries or having a bag full of V-mount batteries, this thing is like carrying 10 of these things on set to keep this thing powered. On top of that, this guy also has 2 XLR outputs, and it comes with an attachment cable, so that way anything you have that needs to be powered off of DTAP can actually be plugged into that attachment and draw power from this battery pack. This battery pack is not cheap. I'll be the first to say that, but I will say that if you are gonna be either out in the field shooting or you're gonna find yourself in a location where you can't draw power from the walls for whatever reason, this guy is not only gonna be able to get this thing powered, but it's pretty much gonna be able to keep this thing powered all day. I mean, at 900 watt hours, really, you don't have to even recharge this thing very often because it's pretty much almost never gonna die on you on one shoot. Now, that being said, I will say that this thing does not charge up quickly. This thing takes about 8 hours to charge. So if you do plan on using this for a shoot, just be sure that you actually, charge this thing up the night before, maybe even start like a day before if you need this thing to be fully charged. But once fully charged, this thing is a massive battery pack. It's a little heavy, but it will actually keep this thing charged all day, and it'll allow you to be able to run this light as much as you need. Because you got 2 XLR ports on here, you can even run 2 of these things at the same time. When it comes to buying LED lights or lighting in general, it is one of the areas that I personally don't recommend going cheap on. The main reason being is because that lights are gonna last you for a very long time, especially if you buy the right ones. It's not like cameras and lenses where a new model is coming out like every year or so, and that means you have to keep upgrading in order to stay with the newest new. When you invest in good quality lighting, it's going to last you a long time, and no matter how often you choose to change your camera or even change the type of stuff that you're shooting, lighting is one of those things that stays pretty much consistent no matter what you're shooting, and you can never have too much light. Now, as much as I liked this light, I do have to say I did have one major issue with the light, and that actually has to do with the remote control. Now, this light does come with a remote that's gonna allow you to actually adjust the color temperature, and it's gonna allow you to adjust like the intensity. But I personally found that the remote really wasn't as helpful as I thought it was gonna be. First of all, there is a little like I don't know what you call it, like a radar thing on the back that would allow me to actually use the remote to it. But if you try to use the remote from in front of the light, it doesn't work. You actually have to have almost like direct line of sight, almost like an infrared type deal in order for the remote to work. Also, if I were to ever actually turn the knobs on the back to adjust brightness, I would also then find that the remote would just stop working. And that was kind of a, little underwhelming. And the vice versa would happen. If I turned on the light and I used the remote, but then I went to actually try to turn my knobs, nothing would happen. So it was almost like you had to decide at the very beginning if you were gonna use the remote or just use the dials. It's not the most intuitive thing, and it's definitely not a deal breaker. Typically, I set my lights and I'm not changing them in the middle of filming, so I could choose to just use the remote or use the dials on the back, and I'm normally fine. I'll probably just use the dials, but I did want to at least bring that up and put that out there because I know D&O will probably check out this video, and just to let them know that, like, hey, the remote's not great, but it's really not a deal breaker. This light panel has quickly become something that stays in my kit, that stays a part of the lighting stuff that I bring because of how versatile it is, and because you never know if you need to stay in tight quarters and be able to keep everything lit. Also, if I ever run into a situation where I need to be able to run power to a light and I don't want to have to rely on V-mount batteries sucking up all the power, this is definitely the way to go. This light matched with its battery bank, I think I said pank like 5 times. Battery bank. This light matched with the battery bank is going to pretty much allow you to shoot anything you need as late as you need to, with or without power, and trust me, you will not regret it. So initially when I started my giveaway, this light was actually not a part of it, but I reached out to D&O and asked them would they be okay with me adding it to the giveaway, just because I knew how great having something like this would be for whoever wins this giveaway. Now, I know a lot of you guys are probably still asking yourself, Brandon, when is the giveaway announcement going to be announced? It is happening today too, so that's right. So I'm dropping 2 videos today. This one and the giveaway video, and the giveaway video will be coming out in just a couple of hours, so be on the lookout for that. If you haven't already, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button, because if you're into filmmaking gear, tips, and tutorials, and learning about the business side of filmmaking as well, definitely hit that subscribe button, because those videos come out every Monday and I'm always dropping new content on this channel. But thank you guys so much for checking out this video. I'll have links to all the D&O stuff that I talked about in this video down in the description, so definitely make sure you check those out, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.